Good evening, fellow ghouls and specters alike. Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive, here to engage in some haunted holiday hijinks by trudging through the catacombs, dusting off the cobwebs as we recount our spooky selection of Halloween classics.
So light the jack-o'-lanterns, suit up, and grab the candy dish as we revive and recount tonight's selection. Courage the Cowardly Dog. The Mask. Laugh with me, Seth. We have our courage. Miss Oz, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
So,
All
episode of Courage, we went with kind of more the.
Wait, hold it.
Talked about and analyzed.
Tiki, you're cutting in and out. I can hardly hear you. I can't even understand what you're saying.
It's great.
Why don't tell you what? I'll.
Can you hear him, Dragon?
Yeah, he's doing the same thing. Tiki, why don't I set it up? You come in and come out. All right. Yeah, he's on it. Sorry, folks, we're still on. Okay, so we are covering one of the most famous episodes of Courage the Cowardly Dog. We're talking about The Mask. Sandy, you want to give him some background on The Mask?
Sure. I mean, this is probably one of the, yeah, it's got to be. I mean, there are a ton of scary episodes of Courage the Cowardly Dog. John Dilworth made sure of that. But this is probably one of the darkest episodes in the entire run of the series of nearly 100 episodes or more. I think it was 101 they did. This has got to be, I think, probably the darkest just because of its material. It deals with a lot of it deals with a lot of physical abuse aspects of relationships and things like that, which is kind of intense for a children's cartoon. Surprisingly, it made it past all this censoring at Cartoon Network. They put it on the air, and we all very, very clearly remember it to this day, for better or for worse. I think John said himself, or someone said, I heard.
He's amazed it made it to the censors too.
Yeah,
I got it directly from the horse's mouth, and you did on the interview. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's surprised. I'm sure he's surprised. They put a lot of his stuff on TV of Courage, but this especially just because it's source material.
Of course, this one has a lot of iconography going for it. I think really that's the reason this one's had so much resonance. I think it's tone and I think it's iconography because again, that mask really is kind of just that giant white mask, that very porcelain-looking mask. It's very iconic, and the all white, and again, like Courage's, various hallucinations about what that mask would look like in a more threatening light, and of course, tonally, what we do with Mad Dog and the gang later on. That's the thing I think that really makes this episode stand the test of time in many ways. It's not my favorite Courage episode, but it's one that absolutely deserves all the respect.
No,
I didn't know. Yeah.
Well, you have your Courage episodes like when Courage meets Bigfoot, stuff like that. It's pretty clowny. It's goofing around, but you have stuff like this that it's on a whole new level. It's completely serious, and you're supposed to take it seriously, but it still has its comedic moments. It's still funny, and yeah, like you said, that mask. It's definitely people definitely remember it. I've always thought it looks like one of those Xbox or Wii avatars.
I think that's the better comparison than what I was going for. Yeah, it does look kind of like one of those avatars. Yeah, like one of the giant, like when you're bowling or something, it gives you like that giant face or something. Yeah,
exactly. But it is disturbing. This Kitty character is definitely maybe disturbing is a little bit too much of a word, but she definitely has a lot of background, a lot of character,
I feel like this episode is one of the few episodes that it's less about quote unquote the monster and more about the situation, right? It's like a real
Exactly.
domestic situation, and that's where the horror comes from.
Yeah, this one does mess with the
Exactly.
courage formula a little bit in an interesting way. I mean, I think I kind of noticed a few things rewatching this episode I hadn't really noticed before. It's been a while since I've really rewatched this one, so we'll get into that.
I don't necessarily think this is the best selection for a Halloween episode, particularly.
Well, this would have been conversation for another time.
And
I'm sorry, go on.
I'm saying upon a rewatch. But having said that, it is a big, iconic kind of landmark episode of Courage that everyone talks about. So we really do, we need to talk about it sooner rather than later. So
Yeah, we owe it to it.
And I was, this episode I think is one of the reasons why John Dilworth is such a genius, because he wrote this by himself, apparently all by himself, and directed it. Like you said, it really messes with the Courage formula and just takes it to a whole new high, just something you would not expect from a children's cartoon now, then, or ever.
Right.
all right.
Okay, let's dive right into it then.
Okay, so the episode starts on the farm. Muriel's working out in the I don't know what is she doing?
Chicken coop. She's collecting eggs.
Yeah.
Okay, right. And Courage is just chilling. I love the atmosphere here. I love that it's kind of at sunset.
Yeah.
Yeah, then this masked figure appears, just kind of like making her way up there, and just like she goes up to Courage, and it's like dogs are evil, and beats Courage literally with the kitchen sink.
You gotta wonder why she's just wandering through the desert here and just happens to find this house. I mean, where else would she have gone?
Very much reminds me of the opening of Psycho 3, where like the first line of that movie in darkness is "There is no God." It's very much like just like wander like this angelic figure is kind of wandering through the desert. It was a nun who said that, by the way, which that's hence the gag. So the point is like this kind of this cloaked figure making its way in broad daylight with such an imposing first line: "Dogs are evil." And of course, it's very, very brutal. Brutal.
Yeah,
Yet
the
cartoony.
animation is like Courage. Literally, his eyes pop out, his tongue's all swollen, and the outside of his head is just like split open, revealing a lumpy mass.
Well,
maybe
it's
less
painful. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, the sores on his head.
Yeah, he's got like these giant lumps throughout the episode. They're more like lumps than like. So again, if it's split open, that's something they could never clear on air. But they can like get lumps and like all this redness and so on. They did push as much as they got as much bruising as they ever could on Courage.
Without a doubt. Yeah, have you guys seen the episode Ball of Revenge? Boy, he takes a beating in that one. It's like all the villains team up on him and just basically just kick the heck out of him. When she wanders up, she looks down, she just tilts her head, and he just looks at her and screams the biggest scream. It's hilarious.
Yep.
This whole opening here.
Muriel, just daft as ever, she's like, "Oh, Courage, I see you're playing with your new friend. How wonderful."
Yes, and again, Muriel, that's her right. Just Muriel is I don't know if this is the most daft she's ever been, but I mean, it's got to be up there.
Up there. It's up there. It's
got to be on the board somewhere. Someone is beating your dog, and you got with Muriel, the lights on, but nobody's home. That's just where she's at this right now. So, she invites Courage's new friend. No, Courage doesn't make many friends. Why don't you just invites her to continue to play in the house, essentially.
Yeah, I invite a complete stranger with a giant sink in your house.
Now, I'm going to tell you, this is interesting. On a rewatch, it kind of occurs to me, I think there might be some symbolism, not symbolism, might be some thematicism with this, where I think they might be commenting on cycle of abuse, where, she's Kitty, and as we're going to find out, Bunny specifically have been they've been abused, or at least Bunny's been in an abusive relationship. And looking at it that way, I feel she's just she's extending her inner anger outwards and just taking it out on all the dogs who, again, were the abusers that ruined her happiness. So again, all dogs she sees as evil. Therefore, she's going to beat them as either Bunny's been beaten or emotionally they both have been beaten. So it's kind of like, again, cycle of abuse, kind of interesting stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of layers to the psychology and the thematicism in this episode. Of course, I'd say out of all the episodes of Courage, it might be the most famous in that regard.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
Dare I say it, dragging after after this kind of became a hot term on Better Call Saul, it's almost like a Rorschach.
A little bit, yeah. It's a little bit like we've been going to the Rorschach well for season 4 Better Call Saul like crazy. It's just like you can look at it so many ways. It's like a Rorschach test, like an ink blot, man. Carol Haley approves. Darn it. I know. Uh,
All
so
right.
so now it's breakfast time. So again, I guess there's like magic hour. Well, not can't be magic hour. It's like early, like the sun has just come up lighting, I guess. So they're having some breakfast, eating eggs and such. And and we get some exposition here. And the thing about Kitty that's really interesting is that Kitty feels very. There's a lot of noir touches throughout this episode, and I think Kitty's probably the noir character out of all of this year. Very much kind of the just she kind of has that almost like a Humphrey Bogart kind of a leading lady type quality to herself there. Like one of Bogart's leading ladies, like she's been kicked around in her life, and like she's the one hiring the PI sort of thing, where she's just name's Kitty. I'm from the wrong side of the tracks, and again, we see that's the case. And basically just gets into like uh, her friend Bunny fell for a gangster who treats her like a slave, and then Eustace here is very just very.
I don't think this gag would be able to fly these days.
Oh, hey, heavens, no. Eustace is like my kind of guy. He's a low down, dirty dog. And here's the great thing about the episode: we're taking these very inane terms out. Again, initially, this is a fascinating thing, but before we get into the latter half, because again, the episode is technically broken in 2 parts. It's a two-parter, kind of melded together as one episode instead of the 11.
Yeah, essentially, part one is everything with Kitty and Courage in the house, and then part two is when Courage goes out to look for a bunny.
Essentially, yes. And with that, I feel the bunny section is where we infuse a little. Again, the situation gets grimmer, but we do infuse some literal kind of comedy there of like, okay, literal kitty, literal bunny, and a literal mad dog. So all of that, the dog thing actually tracks. It's not just like if you just looked at part one by itself, you're looking at like all this like dirty dog stuff. Like he's just a really bad guy. He's like he's a dog. That sort of thing. Like dog in the analogous term, but. I mean, that just adds like kind of the scary connotation to it already. And then when they kind of, I imagine they bought some of that back with the censors that you can get away with saying that as long as it's a literal dog, kitty, and bunny. If you literally show that, then you can get away with this. But either way, just the connotation that we're getting away with, like down, dirty dog, she's selling it like crazy, man. She's selling even if it is a literal interpretation of it. It's like she's selling it like in all various forms of it. It's great. So let's see. So she tried to save Bunny, but Bunny had her life threatened. Basically, she had her life threatened, and she's spilling her tea gag. She's like drinking the tea and just spilling it all over the place, just like you can't drink through the mask. Let's see. Of course, we have Eustace and Muriel just with just complete comedic obliviousness here, where her just like saying, "Look what you did to my head!" Just like, look, look what you have. She beat me and everything. Like, shh, courage, let the guest finish. Just complete.
Yeah, stupid interrupting dog.
Absolutely.
I really love
what's
how
Eustace wagging at Courage? It looks like a potato or something.
Maybe.
I love how in the second half of the episode you have Courage in this dramatic situation. Well, I guess on a Courage level of his level of dramatic situation where he's actually trying to save the day, and then you cut back from time to time to Muriel and Eustace and their quote unquote dramatic situation where they have to open the bathroom because Muriel really has to go. So some clever writing right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see real quick. Right. So then, things start to escalate here, and again, we amp up, kind of like, okay, there's something off with this kitty character. If you weren't already put off, there's something a little dark and mysterious. going on here, where he says she left Bunny, and she's horrified to face the truth, the inner truth that she may never see her again. And then Eustace is a really callous line here. He says, "Maybe if you take that mask off, you might see better." And really, again, it's kind of it's kind of a gutsy choice. You're just like smashes the tea set across the room. Again, this is like I think the first major break in the courage formula. Usually, we don't have something that obvious happen in front of Eustace and Muriel. Just slaps the tea set, like smashes it across the fridge or something. And Muriel's now a little scared. It's like, Eustace, don't bring up the mask again. So again, like we're kind of doing again.
You know what? That's a good way to look at it. It's like they're still nice to her, but at the same time, they know there's something off with her.
And it's kind of an acknowledgement in that scene of we're doing something different. This is kind of there's some very serious subtext here, and we don't want to. We're showing you we're in kind of some uncharted territory here, but buckle up for the adventure that's going to unfold. It's kind of what that moment kind of communicates, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and of course the cutaways to Courage thinking of what Kitty could possibly be, with her chewing on, like literally like taking a huge bite out of Eustace. That's disturbing, man. It's like that's some scary stuff.
Yeah. So let's see. She walks off to the dogs are evil bit. Then we get the don't mention again.
Are we gonna mention? Are we gonna mention Kitty spying on them when they're doing their household chores?
Well, I believe we're getting there. I think because that was breakfast, and they do that at dinner, so we're getting there.
Okay, I thought we were just jumping around.
Well, no, we're going through it linearly. So
okay,
as much as we can, at least. Courage, he's watching this like a cat marionette thing, like kick a dog on the TV, and then of course Kitty then, I kid you not, slaps him with a fish. I mean, there's no other way to put it. She slaps him with a large fish, possibly a mackerel. Slaps him with a fish.
That's actually what the thumbnail is here, but I decided it would be a little more classy and intimidating if you didn't see the fish.
Right.
But in the thumbnail, if you zoom out, she's actually holding the fish over her head.
Right. Right. Okay. I don't think we're seeing the thumbnail. Just a little.
Oh, I totally forgot because okay, hold on.
Okay. Well, anyway, as we adjust that, we're just going to keep on going here. So,
I dropped out. Okay, my bad. One second.
So Courage is getting a lot of abuse here under the table as he's hit by this. I'm sorry, it's not a mackerel, it's a halibut. It's like, there's my halibut.
This, I think, is like up there for one of the most oblivious things that Muriel's ever pulled.
Certainly. Go on with your fun. Just completely just aside.
The halibut is supposed to be a big part of the meal, but she's just like, oh, well, you can just beat my dog with it instead.
Yeah. God, it's got to be top 10 material for Muriel obliviousness. It's got to be. So let's see. So meanwhile, Muriel's plunging I believe Muriel's plunging the toilet here. She hands it off to Courage. Courage is bandaged and unnoticed completely, by the way. Just again from his previous injuries, just still trying to heal, and she's just not picking up on any of this. Says, I'll see what I can do. See what you can do. I'll get used to. She walks out of the room, leaving Courage alone. Which again, if anyone's seen a horror movie or a thriller, it's never a good idea. So we have, of course, like the age-old like evil dog as she enters, just saying that something unspeakable is about to happen to Courage as Eustace interrupts. This gag's so funny. So Eustace basically, he comes in, he sees Courage being plunged on the other end of the plunger, and just Eustace like he's interrupted an intimate moment here. Oh, sorry.
I love how he repeats it. He's like, sorry. Oh
God. Jeez. So fix the toilet again. Just taking credit for it. Fix the toilet. Good job. And blah blah blah. Just it's just 101 there.
Like all form of just being an a-hole this episode.
I gotta tell you that Eustace, you're right, as horrible as Eustace is, I'm just saying horrible in the sense of as callous and as Eustace like as he is. I gotta tell you, he does have some great growth in this episode, though. Amazingly, Eustace's character rarely has growth, and this episode does give him a lot of growth in part 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So following that gig, now it's dinner time. So it's dinner time. Courage is hiding under his chair because he just does not want to face this kitty person. Eustace is asking, "What are you hiding? What you hiding from? You can't even eat your food." Saying this to Kitty. What?
I love how
Eat your
Courage,
food.
he's like howling, like, "Oh no, why is he bringing this up?"
And of course, she's going to this really interesting conversation. And this is where things are about to get kind of creepy and psychological. Here says, "I don't wish to face reality."
All right, now kids, what does this mean?
It means we all wear masks, Tiki. Just ask Chase Meridian. We all wear masks. But no, but actually, real quick, I'm going to shout somebody out here. Let's shout Ralph Gonzalez here in the comments with us. Ralph has made a series of really astute observations about courage. I feel we can share briefly here. So Ralph, this episode covered abuse in a relationship, which is taking a big risk for the show in Cartoon Network's early years. As a child, you you would notice this. So maybe, hopefully, as a child, it might be a type of wouldn't notice this. I'm not entirely sure. You could read either way. That's like as a child, you would notice this as like something's off here. As a child, you wouldn't notice it until years later when you rewatch the episode. Not to mention the hints of homosexuality is put into the mix. And yes, there is kind of a very kind of a next level. Yeah, we're doing some stuff that wouldn't really delve into
Steven Universe before Steven Universe.
Exactly, that's what I'm getting at. Yes, I mean, we years later we have to kind of build it up in the bank before we can really kind of do that on television like we can now. And I like that Courage is kind of a little. Again, it was next level without being in your face about it, but still the themes communicate. And we're taking kind of these. We're taking sort of very feminine. We're taking the kitty and the bunny, which very usually is kind of viewed as like very kind of feminine, very kind of same sex in certain circles, and we're kind of using that as kind of the genesis of the relationship without directly kind of spelling it out. So it's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Of course, very much Ralph's in agreement with us. Muriel is not the sharpest tool in the shed. Well, I think this episode speaks to that. Sandy, maybe you could speak to this one. Have you seen the Fog of Courage short that was from like 2 or 3 years ago? Which I believe, yeah, we've all seen that, right? One with Wally Shawn, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back to the point here. So yes, so we're getting a lot of really great like not facing reality idea, which I feels like people not. So sometimes you see people who have. It's kind of like you invite. It's like the age old like guess who's coming to dinner story. You invite somebody who's of a very different philosophy, or someone who's very very different, or someone has like a belief system that's just counterintuitive to what the norm is. And I'm sorry, I'm getting very. I feel like I'm reading from a book here. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of trying to process some of this here, but it's. But yeah, I mean, I like this whole like it's kind of occurring to me in the moment here that yeah, it's like I don't wish to face reality. That's a really you don't hear that all the time, especially if you're watching something that was intended for kids or intended for as a cartoon. You don't really see how really clever that is. I don't wish to face reality, as in like I'm making a statement with what I'm wearing now to justify the kind of a symbol of my emotional state right now. I'm in the worst state of my life. You also have like people wearing masks, like all the depression commercials. You have people wearing the mask to kind of shield from how they're feeling, where they're putting on a face for the world. You got a lot of stuff you can read. Again, the Rorschachian quality that Tiki brought up earlier is very apt to this episode. Of course, Miriam's response to all this is, "But dear, we all must face reality." And then here's where we get into the big, like she's been watching. This is where
it's disturbing. Like, why has she been watching these people specifically? This doesn't make any sense.
I think that's kind of just her. I think it's her just kind of. I think it's like the philosophy of the mask. I think it's just her like, I can't face reality. I'm just going to see other people who can't face reality. I think it's just what she's. I think it's just kind of what she's doing while she's there. She would do it for anyone she stayed at. She would kind of get to the surface like this is the thing you hide.
Oh, so this is
basically the idea is that this is just how she like interacts with the world now.
I think.
So wait, so how long has she been there? Do you think a few days, 1 day?
Well, I'm inclined to believe it's 1 day. I'm inclined to believe it's like basically a day and night. So let's say day, maybe two by the time the episode ends. So maybe like actually, I think it all happens in 1 day because it's going to be nighttime through the ending of the episode. I think it's all 1 day. That's what.
Okay. Because it'd make a lot more sense if it was over the course of a few days and she was just around the house and she was watching them.
There's nothing saying that couldn't be the case, though. I just think it's a day, but I think you're right that there's a lot of We don't know how long she's there.
No.
Yeah.
This bit with Eustace. I fixed it.
Okay, so let's see. So one, she kind of throws some shade at Muriel here. I mean, the way you sneak sweets, or the way Eustace can fix anything. Of course, like Eustace's bot, like she's sneaking cake, and Eustace is like he's trying to fix the furnace. He just like completely blows it up and just tosses it across the room. I fixed it.
And just the animation of the mask like leering in the corners is very unsettling.
Minimalist animation at its finest, you know, just like a little head movement. That's about it. That's about it. It's like Jason Voorhees acting. It's great. All right. So let's see. Following that, so again, the dinner conversation. So now they're all kind of like they're all thrown off their game, and again, we're confronting Eustace and Muriel stuff we never do. Like it's like hey, it's kind of like a fourth wall. It's like almost like a meta thing of like, hey, stop being oblivious, face your problems. That's kind of what they're doing here. It's kind of
Right.
So let's see. So after we see little flashes, of what's going on there? We Eustace says, "I'm going to bed." So Eustace is going to bed, and they're all kind of going to bed, troubled by what happened at dinner. So Muriel, she's awake in bed, and she asks, "Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Muriel made a bed in the attic for Kitty. First of all, she made a bed in the attic for Kitty. Shout if you need anything, and boy, is she going to later. So let's keep." So now we're in the bedroom. Now they're both the couple's awake at night, just kind of like thinking about what's been said at dinner. Eustace, Muriel posed the question to Eustace. You think I eat too much, Eustace? And this is one of the sweet. Again, we kind of build to like a sweet arc for Eustace here. It was the closest thing to a nice thing.
Yeah.
It starts off like the closest thing Eustace could pay a compliment to Muriel here, saying "nah," but of course just wrapped up in and just like his Eustace is like, I can fix anything, you know. He's completely in denial and just it's like, nah, you're fine, just because he doesn't want to admit she's onto anything.
All right, so Courage is spying on Kitty through the peephole, the keyhole.
Yeah.
We see the big symbol of the episode besides the mouse, or besides the mask, the toy mouse.
Yes. Yeah. And we have the dramatic unmasking where, oh my god, she actually is a kitty. But seriously, the score in this episode is fan. The score has always been good in Courage, but this is one of the top tier episodes ahead of score for Courage Cowardly Dogs. The score is again it's like a swelling noir theme in a way. It's noir, it's dark, but it has like these giant swells of tension or swells of romanticism. Especially again, I think here's more tension. The next episode's more kind of more romanticism. It's all great here. Where we have the big cat reveal, and I think, and again, here's one of my biggest problems of the episode is like Courage's reactions later on, especially in part 2, they don't make much sense, and we'll get there. But I think all of that, the only rationale I have for any of that is that Courage's reaction is he freaks out here. And he locks the door because he has a bad history with cats, specifically cats, the motel owner, the basically very imposing businessman of many.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I read it.
Yeah, that's got to be it. That's got to be why he's so hung up. I'm like, okay, something bad's gonna happen because it's a cat. But I mean, we'll see. I think it makes a little bit more sense here, but as it goes on, it's gonna make less and less sense.
No, I think he's just generally curious because there's this masked figure staying in his house, and he's the only one who thinks there's something up. I mean, to anyone with half a brain, obviously Muriel and Eustace don't. Something's definitely up if someone's going to come into your house with a mask and just sleep in your attic. So, I honestly, I don't think cats has anything to do with it.
Yeah.
I kind of read it as more just a primal thing. I kind of agree with Sandy.
That's fair. Yeah, you're right. Kind of. There's also kind of a built-in cat-dog thing, kind of a rivalry. So maybe. Again, like she's unleashing all this, and again, like cats hate everybody. Just that's a fact of life, folks. Cats hate everybody.
And plus, Courage has developed a relationship with this character. It's not exactly a good one, but he's developed this relationship with her, and he wants to find out more about her.
I just love how this episode speaks to Courage's good quality here. Where again, he could any one of us would just like to, man, screw this cat, man. Screw her. Just get her out of here. It's like, give me a hose, something. Just like, give me some water. But it's But I mean, yeah, we see that Courage hasn't, after all the abuse that he's taken, he's not given up on. Again, he's doing it out of a preservation of his family, which again I think is that's the thing that just doesn't quite click with me. Where it is out of self preservation, but later on it is out of the sense of like he's kind of trying to help somebody else, which is like yeah, it's good old Courage there. So.
There's a little Easter egg coming up when we get to it. It's coming up pretty soon.
We'll just be sure to point it out.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. So Courage, so basically locks, he locks the room for everybody's protection. Courage, frantically, he gives a frantic warning to Eustace and Muriel. Turns into like this tentacle Sauron-looking thing, the Sauron eye. Basically, Courage is really bad at charades. If we learned anything from Courage the Cowardly Dog, Courage sucks at charades. He just turns like the let's see, it turns to this ball with a mouth, like kind of like a Langovers looking thing. He's So again, he's a monster with a tentacle. I think it's more tentacle legs. I'm not sure. He turns into something with legs. So Courage, of course, Muriel. Apparently, she understood like a tenth of this.
Courage, how could you say such things about our guests?
I think the literal question is like, how could you morph your body in all those shapes, Courage? How could you do that? So I think that's the literal question, but sure, okay. So all we know is she's from the wrong side of the tracks, which I like that the very little bit of information Courage does have there again pays off in a literal sense later on. That's just funny. It's a spot bubble of the mask monster, like basically a monster's version of Kitty and the Mask by a set of train tracks. But you should try to see the world the way she sees it. So of course,
here's where this Easter egg is.
Okay.
When Courage has this horrible thought that she's this monster that's gonna eat his family. Well, first we see that she takes a huge bite out of Eustace, basically just chops his whole upper half off. That's kind of disturbing because you actually see like chewed up Eustace in the Mask's mouth. It's really nasty.
Yeah.
But after this thought bubble he has after this. We see that the army and in his thought the army has come and arrested this character, and Courage is back with Muriel, and Eustace is still just half a body, just a pair of legs. But if you look closely, where basically all of the not so pretty stuff you see, where that should be is basically just a smiley face, right?
Huh.
If you look at because I'm browsing through the episode now as we're talking, and it's basically where you have your usual blood and whatever, it's just a smiley face. I'm guessing for Cartoon Network censoring.
Again, that's how they can get away with it. As long as there's a smiley face on that man who's been half eaten. As long as there's a smiley face, I'll allow it. It's like one of the. Okay, so let's see. So again, point is Courage. He tries to communicate this to them. They don't get it at all. Eustace kicks him out of the room as he tends to do. And then we have the bubble of all of that, like stopping the mask creature, calling the army and everything, and then so again, I just love the shot of like all the guns and cannons pointed at the monster, and it's like Courage's like, yeah, I brought you down, man.
And yeah, you're right, Sandy. We get a close up on the freaking smiley face on Jesus. It's great.
All right, so let's see. So we have this. So of course, he gets a bubble of the. So again, all of this kicked off from like he's thinking of the mouse toys, which is going to be important. So again, it's going to be the main key in his search. He's going to use that mouse toy to find basically unravel Kitty's whole thing, get her arrested, get her taken in by the army and everything. Go great, and he'll be the one who saved Muriel and half of Eustace. So, Courage, he locks him in their room for safety.
And guys, I just want to say a little something here after done dragging about this shot, this scene, I guess, this clip. I'll let you finish though. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, Courage, he locks him in the room for safety. And yeah.
Oh yeah, climbs through the window and gets the mouse toy. But wow, I just noticed, like, this is very apparent all through Courage, of just the amount of textures and the detail, the FX team and the animators put in, especially the background artists put into the show. Uh, I'm just paying very close attention to Courage's shadow and how closely that follows him, and just how nice it looks. Like you don't see that in very many shows where they have such nice effects works, and backgrounds and things like that. It just caught me for whatever reason. Just looks really really nice. All these beautiful colors, these realistic textures, fluid animation too. Wow, geez.
Yeah. Okay, so Courage, he's lifted the mouse toy. He uses this feather to basically loosen her grip from the pillows. He gets a feather from the pillow. I love like you can see you can see the theory in the animation here. We have like the little the feather sticking out of the pillow, and that's where he's grabbing it. So it's not coming out of nowhere. It's coming from like somewhere in the physical space. And he basically tickles her a little bit, loosens the grip, snags it. Courage takes Eustace's truck, which apparently is either just very easy to hotwire or just Courage always has like a spare set of keys to Eustace's truck because he does this a lot.
How
It's
does
in
he
Eustace.
how does he reach the pedals though?
The dog can morph into like God knows what. You really
Oh.
want to question how it can drive?
Well, he rode a unicycle once. His legs like grew huge, like 3 feet long. It's amazing.
Yep. So let's see. So Courage goes to this diner. He goes to a diner, very much like that famous diner painting. Oh, that painting, by the way. Everything
yeah.
taken off the top of my head. Darn it. But anyway, so Courage at this diner, and again, this is a very noir kind of setting. I love this. So he's drinking a root beer float, and the bartender realizes
Charlie the Rat.
it's Charlie the Rat. But I'm sorry, right before Charlie the Rat enters, like Courage, like, again, one of Courage's few lines. To Kitty love Bunny. So again, we got two names. We have the name of literal Bunny, so literal Kitty, literal Bunny, and then Charlie the bartender. He comes in there. He recognizes that mouse. Oh, wait a minute, I know that mouse. It's you a friend of Kitty and Bunny's? Courage literally falls to pieces here, I guess, saying, I've been beaten. I think it's his way of communicating these terrible charades, so I have no idea. But he's communicating, I'm falling to pieces because I've been beaten the crap out of by Kitty, but sure, I'm an acquaintance, yes. So he basically says, oh, yeah, Kitty's not been right since.
Funny.
Yeah. Like those two were the sweetest gals that ever did live. And again, this is them kind of circling the whole these two in an intimate relationship, which again, good friends or not, it plays either way. Which again, censors I'm sure work fine for him. So these two were the sweetest gals that ever did live. Then of course Bunny. Then Bunny's getting Bunny's guy, Mad Dog, didn't like him being so friendly like. And again, the emphasis on friendly like makes me think again that's definite subtext. That's The weird thing is, Sandy, when we've talked to John Dilworth, in other interviews too, it's just he doesn't get into like necessarily what he was going for with the episode. He just goes that he's amazed he can get away with it. I don't know. I don't know if that's just him not being forthcoming with the information, or if that's just like, it just kind of speaks for itself. I wonder.
I read that as he kind of just likes, like you said, Dragon, he kind of likes to let the art speak for itself.
Yeah, that's what I think that has to be it, right?
Yeah, like what John Kricfalusi said, another John Kricfalusi, the creator of Ren and Stimpy, said whenever people ask him if Ren and Stimpy are homosexual, he just says, well, I don't know
that's
their
their
personal life. Yeah, it's their business.
That's a good point. That's a good point. All right. Okay, so let's see. So basically, he's a one nasty piece of jealousy. He and his gang, they live down the road. They tell her Charlie said, "Hey," says, "Hey." It's a good friendly bartender. I like a good friendly bartender. All right.
He's a big scary guy, but I love when in this show when you have a big scary guy like this, but he's actually a real sweetheart.
Yeah, or like a big scary monster, just very pedantic, like Schwick. The name's Schwick. Okay, so Muriel wakes up, banging on the door, calling for Courage, and then she calls for Eustace because she has to use the bathroom, and she wakes him up. So Eustace, basically, the wife has to use the bathroom, has to unlock the door, and then Eustace again. It's very, I don't know, like doors locking from the outside like that. I don't know if that's the wisest idea. I'm not sure. I don't know if that's conveniency or just a really old house. Not sure, but Eustace he attempts to kick the door down, which fails miserably. Uh, And Muriel's kind of snapping at Eustace here. Again, really, Muriel doesn't really get the snap at Eustace like this. Again, like a deep cut, like, oh, Kitty was right about you can't fix a thing. Yeah, you want some chocolate? They kind of need marriage counseling, and they kind of get it in kind of an enclosed space this episode. It's very interesting. Marital discourse. Next, Courage Cowardly Dog.
All right, so Courage reaches the tracks, the aforementioned tracks.
The wrong side of the tracks.
Literally the wrong side of the tracks.
Yes, and it's a real. Basically, again, this is where a lot of the iconography and the tone really stick. The tone is the thing that speaks to me most in this episode. Like with this rat hole of a place, you look, they're surrounded by nothing but smokestacks of like smog in the air in the background, and then you have this building. I'm sorry.
Big nuclear plants.
Right. Yeah, the big nuclear plants too. Yeah. It looks like it's a war zone practically. It looks like what we think of when we say, oh yeah, no place like Gotham. When you're thinking like Gotham's like one step away from being a war zone. It's like it's oh boy. Anyway, so we have this. They're in this real rat hole. I just like it's like a rat hole building in the middle of nowhere. It's like this building, but it's like surrounded by nothing else. Just like this brick building in the middle of nowhere, which again is probably in close proximity to the actual nowhere where Courage and Eustace and Muriel are. So then, of course, Courage is hallucinating the mask, biting Muriel next. Now, basically time it. The clock is ticking, which, again, so far, Courage, I believe, is still justified in what he's thinking here. But it's so far, I think it works. But then we have Mad Dog and the gang. They arrive. Mad Dog and his gang. Let's talk about those guys. What do you think about the designs on Mad Dog and the gang?
Now, these guys are pretty. They're memorable, because they're so. They're terrifying. I mean, characters.
Well, it's what I said earlier, where this is one of the rare Courage villains where, besides being anthropomorphic, there's really nothing about this character that can't exist in real life.
Yeah, he's got this leather jackets and wife beaters on giant, imposing, kind of Cerberus looking dogs. Doesn't get any scarier than that.
And these glowing red eyes they have too.
It's like, again, for the censor, I don't know if it was for the censors or what, but I mean, whether or not it's a choice, all the same works. I'm speculating maybe it's the reason for this, but I love that going with the actualized version, like Mad Dog as the boyfriend here. We're seeing like, okay, well, like, we're taking it's dogs, basically they're anthropomorphized. Therefore, it's like, okay, it's a little, we can get away with it. But again, they're making it as scary and as topical as they can. There, where, oh my god, like Mad Dog is like, they're making it dogs, but the dogs are very scary. Makes it fit. Basically, it's like spot on either way you slice it. So let's see. Kitty, she wakes up and she panics at the sight of her missing mouse. I'm sorry. Courage also spotted Bunny when Mad Dog and the gang got out of the car. So he spots Bunny just being dragged along. And again, we've seen this all the time in movies. You always have like that poor girl who's stuck with the wrong guy and just like being dragged around like that. She seems, I think here they play it off as sad, but again, if you want to look deeper, and usually in those movies, like I'm thinking like Super, like Kevin Bacon and Super right now, where you have like the girl who's in there with the wrong crowd, and sometimes she's presumably drugged up or something. So again, I don't know if they're maybe hinting at some like a truly horrible situation where someone's being like kind of held captive against their will like that, or just in a cycle of abuse in an abusive relationship. I'm not sure which one, but either way, it's effective and scary to think of.
Yeah.
Kitty wakes up. She panics at the sight of her missing mouse. Again, her totem of Bunny, the symbol of her relationship, the only thing she has left of Bunny, and she's not happy. So Eustace, meanwhile, he's attempting to climb outside with bed sheets. As the two hear Kitty starting to lose it, and she's like losing an Orson Welles style on Citizen Kane, man. She's like she's gonna tear that room to pieces. She's gonna lose her mind in there. She tosses Eustace out the window. Just Muriel's like tosses Eustace out the window. Meanwhile, Mad Dog and Bunny have a little chat.
Oh boy. I love how oppressive the lighting is here. It's so red.
Yeah,
Very
it is.
And that lighting and tone, it still holds up to this day. Where Mad Dog's saying like, "Come on, Bunny, don't I make you happy, or are you still thinking about Kitty?" And then we get to this. It's really. I love that into sitting like they're sitting down on this couch and he's trying to make it like look at the happy life we built for ourselves. The place is a rat hole. What kind of happy life are you? So yeah. Look, I take you from a 2-bit joint and make you a class act. In complete oxymoron, he's not realizing at all what he's saying here. I turn you into a class act, and you want to make me second rate. If I even smell Kitty, this is where the imposing dog quality comes in. Yeah, I like that we're in a show that we're always marketed. Rarely do we see dogs in Courage. I mean, rarely do we see anthropomorphized dogs like Courage. We've seen like dogs on 4 legs, but I mean it's so striking when we see like another example. Again, this is before the finale of Courage, where we see the other anthropomorphized dogs. Really,
Feel of this dog compared to Courage.
Exactly. So if I even smell Kitty's growling his teeth there, it looks very scary, very pit bull-esque, I guess. Even smell Kitty, I'll bury the 2 of you. Which again, this is what makes me. This is why I keep harping on the censor thing here, because again, I think they got away with this because it's a literalized, like they're going to actually bury him. It's like not bury him alive, like dead and buried. It's going to be like you're just going to bury him. They'll be fine. They'll be buried in dirt. Well, I think it's funnier, but again, it's still imposing, though. So let's see. So meanwhile, Bunny. Oh yeah, Bunny starts to cry. Bunny starts to cry, and Mad Dog. Again, we see kind of the scary truth about an abusive relationship. Bunny begins to cry, and Mad Dog shows a sensitive side here. He tries to comfort her. Just, oh, Bunny, don't cry. You're my girl. Let's go back to how the happy way we was. And Bunny then she takes this opportunity, and this is scary here. She takes this opportunity. She hooks his collar. Now he's in close. She hooks his collar to this light fixture on the wall. It's a really dingy apartment, so like that wall's really it's like hanging on by like a few threads of drywall. It's like it's not in there right. So hooks Mad Dog to the light fixture. She grabs a go bag, and I love the fact that she had a go bag. It's like, yeah, she's been waiting for this, man. Grabs this go bag, but his men are outside. Mad Dog's cronies are outside. Courage watches as all this unfolds, and see her kind of brutally be handled off screen. But I love how we're just focused on Courage's reaction as all this unfolds, which again makes it really scary. And Courage is still now. Here's where the episode starts to lose me. This is the thing that didn't hold up on a rewatch for me. As this is going on, Courage now has like the mask bubble again. Like, why are you having that in this moment? You're now being looped into how you have a front row seat to what's actually going on here. Why are you still thinking of that?
Yeah, what do you think about that, Sandy?
That's a very good point. That's a very good point, Dragon. I never really thought about it before, but
believe me, as much as I love, I'll put the episode on any pedestal. It's like the one thing just rewatching did not stick with me. I mean, I just didn't occur to me years before. It's like, yeah, that really. Why would he still be afraid? And again, it seems like, one of my favorite episodes of Courage Cowardly Dog is Heads of Beef, which is all about Courage not having anything to actually be afraid of. And I love that episode.
Yeah,
and I'm not opposed to doing that, but I just feel they kind of wanted to keep the run. I think they wanted to maintain formula without realizing they didn't have to follow formula at all for the episode. I think that's what might have happened.
Yeah, well, you make a very good point, Dragon. I'm not sure why he's still afraid when he has, like you said, a front row seat to what's actually going on. It seems like he'd actually start, just build up a little bit of courage and, want to get this taken care of.
Yeah.
Pretty good point.
Okay.
I love how the screwdriver just breaks, just snaps like it's resin or something.
Yeah, and again, it's such a tense sequence with Mad Dog. He's just so literal mad. He could break the thing clean off. It's a very tense scene. Of course, Bunny's stuck, and then she's buried alive. Again, emphasis on alive. She is buried just in this big old pot that they keep inside the room, which is hilarious. The shovel's in a big pot of dirt, which just cracks me up. That thing I completely forgot about on a rewatch. Oh yeah, there was a giant pot of dirt. Yeah. So frantically, So again, the point is there's a lot of powerful subtext in the scene we just went over about relationships, the gritty apartment, all of that is just wonderfully communicated. Meanwhile, back to the happy couple. Eustace is trying to unlock Kitty's door first. He's trying to unlock Kitty's door with the tools and everything, and he breaks a screwdriver off in the room. How do you break a screw? You dope. I just Eustace like, bro, how do you break a screwdriver like that? So as that's happening, Muriel frantically. I'm sorry, I'm jumping into it wrong. Frantically. Here's a lot. I think I overused frantically in my notes. My bad. So Muriel. Kitty wants out big time. She wants out big time. She sheds her robe and everything. Again, very kind of eerie scene. Like, oh man, she's having a breakdown. Rarely do you see a breakdown of this magnitude on a kid's cartoon. And Muriel, meanwhile, she feels, oh, I'm going to explode, and she finds a bobby pin kind of pop out of her, little shower cap, little nightgown cap thing, sleeping cap. He just finds a bobby pin, which, of course, if we know anything from media, it's like the bobby pin is the perfect lockpick. It's like a charm. So Eustace, he's going for just using a giant rock at this point. And as he's using this giant rock, Muriel has relieved herself, and she's out of the bathroom again, like everything worked out for her. Bunny, we reveal now. Here's where we reveal literally she was buried in a giant pot of dirt. So. She's alone in the room. She sees Courage and she mistakes, oh, it's another dog, which means, oh no, it's another dog. I'm in more abuse. No. Courage shows the mouse, which instantly equates to some trust. Like, oh my God, that's the mouse that belongs to Kitty and I. Hooray, salvation. Courage very bravely dives right through the window. Not very subtle, but he dives through the window, of course, causing some alarm and adding a ticking clock to the entire situation. So he, and again, he's still having that hallucination of still the thought bubble of the mask and Eustace and Muriel. Basically, the mask is now in Eustace and Muriel's bed. So it is funny. Again,
wait. I have an interpretation for the thing you just brought up, Dragon.
Okay.
Okay, what if at this point the mask is less Kitty and more kind of like a symbol of like fear and isolation and abuse?
I like that. I do.
So basically what I'm saying is that he knows that Kitty's underneath the mask. So what, the ticking clock in his head now is basically trying to free Kitty from the mask.
Tiki, I'll go with that, and I don't think it's like sanded to perfection, but I'll take it. I think that's like, I think they would have to, they could still use that, maybe orchestrate a little bit, but again, for what it is, I'll take it. Sure. Okay. So anyway, so Courage, he's frantically trying to dig right as he's doing that. He has this thought bubble of like the mask, and he's just kind of cozying up in bed. I guess the symbolic interpretation of it is it's an abusive relationship, being casual, like making a home in your own life. There's just like settling in bed, just sitting there, like it's going to be at home and just going to continue to get up in the morning and do what it's going to do and then go back to bed at night. Therefore, just being like it's going to be in this continuing cycle and you're going to be unable to stop it. So maybe that's the symbolism attached to that. So that's the stakes. A dog enters, and then we have basically Courage goes full Rambo in this episode many times. This is
honestly, like Courage lives up to his name this episode more than a lot of the series.
Yeah, it's Courage's audition for Underdog done right. So dog enters. One of the henchmen, dog enters, hits the lights, and basically, again, he was armed with a shovel. He hit the light, and he basically bonks this guy on the head with the shovel multiple times. But I still think it's hilarious. The light comes on. It's like we see just like all these giant lumps on his head. So kind of Courage, kind of getting back at the top of this episode where he was beaten relentlessly. It's like Courage has had enough. He's not doing it anymore. So he gets her out, but Mad Dog and the rest of the gang are around the corner. There are more dogs around the corner, and the ticking clock is still on. Meanwhile, Eustace, he's about to blow the door up. He's gotten to the point where he cannot open the door any other way, as he tells Muriel.
Why do they have so many like military grade missiles just laying around in barrels of TNT and grade A fertilizer and what?
I do have an answer for that, actually. Here's why. So we've seen the general in the army at various times visit Courage, and also they've been to various government bases. So I'm just imagining Eustace kind of pocketed one on the way out. Each visit, like they come by and they have these missiles, just like, yeah, okay, I'm just going to take one of these.
No, it's a good theory.
Right. So the point is, Eustace like, Muriel, there's no other way.
That delivery is it's so very Don Knotts-esque to me. It's just like it's defeated Don Knotts. It's like, oh, Andy, I can't do this any other way.
Yeah. So Muriel provides him with the bobby pin.
Anyways.
Provides him with the bobby pin. Says, I could have thought of that. Of course, she's now using the bobby pin to unlock the door. Muriel, she's then this is like, and Eustace, just to let you know, I'm cutting back on the sweet. So it's like, oh man, good old Muriel. Again, this is her having some character growth. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, she's probably still gonna be daft as ever next week, but progress. So Kitty, they unlock the door. They find that Kitty is gone, and she must. And Muriel was like, oh, she must have gone to the bathroom. God, of course, it makes no sense, but sure. So Courage, meanwhile, he's gone. We see the aftermath of Courage having gone full Rambo with bombs and air. And here's the thing: if you look at the set, there are bombs, there are arrows, there are shovels. He's basically beaten two dogs' heads in, and then there's again like a bunch of lumps on their heads and everything, and they're basically buried in the thing back to back. And of course, there's still the big Kahuna left, the head honcho, the big cheese, Mad Dog, the scariest of all of them. So as they're about to make their exit, next is Mad Dog, and this leads to Courage making for another window dive again. Instead of just like climbing through the window he already broke, just like another window dive. Dives right out the window. Mad Dog gives chase on the fire escape, and every time we have a fire escape chase, that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. The ladder
falls down, and we get like this might be one of the most disturbing pieces of animation, honestly, where Courage's jaw is just like broken in between the two sides of the ladder.
Yeah, man, it does. Yeah. So we go from that and the approaching train. So again, as the climax is amping up, and by the way, we're in part 2 at this point, folks. Again, we kind of isolate when that kind of starts and ends, but just in case anyone realize we're about to hit the big climax. Yeah, okay, so they're in the big climax. So the train's approaching. As we're kind of amping things up on the A story, we go to the B story with this sweet scene of Muriel and Eustace in bed. And he says, "Nobody's perfect." It's like this really sweet. Just again, like the happiest we'll ever see Eustace Bag. The happiest we'll ever see Eustace Bag in regards to his marriage. It's like nobody's perfect, and of course, there's no sign of Courage. Who cares? What a prick. Who cares? All right, so Courage and Bunny, they're heading for the train again. This is very noir-esque, and I love this. It's very much like we're heading for the train. It's like the age-old. It's like I know Cat Dog did a whole episode on this. They parodied some old movie that I can never find when I try looking for it. It's this movie based. It's like the two people running to climb on the train at the very last second, helping the one guy on the train. So that move.
Uh-huh.
So they're basically running for this train. As they're heading for the train, they are chased by Mad Dog in his car, in his Tuco Salamanca car. It's some very imposing light. I love the headlights providing this really imposing lighting. They're in the crosshairs. They're goners. Courage tries to distract Mad Dog as Bunny gets away, but no luck. So Courage very bravely chases the car down, let's see. Chases down the car. I think we have another thought bubble of the mask again biting something else. I can't quite.
Yeah, it's doing something now.
Yeah, it's doing something. The point is, like, this one absolutely, I think, is the symbol. I think this is where you're on the money with the whole Mad Dog being the fear and the abusive relationship thing. And this one has to be the symbol of Mad Dog with the mask.
I think it's Courage actually attacking the mask. I think.
Right, right. That's his courage
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
is attacking the mask, and again, this might be more synonymous of courage standing up to kind of the symbol of abuse and the reality
Well,
you're not brave enough to
here's
face.
yeah, here's a little something. Maybe this may explain, may or may not be what John Dilworth was going for, but courage is he's conquering what he's been afraid of through this entire episode. Now in his mind, he's mentally conquering what he's been afraid of the entire episode. So it's physical and mental fear that he has to overcome, and he does it at the exact same time. He attacks Mad Dog, which is basically the driving force of this of
Literal driving force.
yeah, literal driving force, and then the mask in his mind, which is mentally, basically represents fear through the episode.
I like it. I'm down for that. I like that. That's a lot better. I like it. So, courage. He dives bravely. This is awesome. Courage. After that little thought bubble moment, he dives through the back windshield and he wrestles with Mad Dog over the wheel, which is probably one of the gutsiest things we've ever seen Courage do. One of them. He steers the car onto the train tracks, staring down the wrong end of the train.
It's basically Mr. Toad's Wild Ride at this point.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Except Mad Dog lives. You don't die.
Yeah.
Or it's like the wrong end of Oliver's company. It's like the how that bad guy died. Remember?
I love how when Kitty, when she
Yeah.
realizes what's going to happen, and she turns away, and then she looks back, and she almost looks sad, like she still has some sympathy for Mad Dog,
Which is a smart choice.
Yeah, it adds some character.
So
It shows the character actually has emotion here.
And yeah, I gotta tell you, I mean that's the thing that to me it has to be, if any more than anything else in the entire episode, that one has to be the main coup d'état of you have to have something to please the censors. Where, according to John, what the censors didn't give them a lot of trouble, presumably because they knew their job and they had these payoffs built in. They didn't have to be told to do this stuff. Maybe they just had this stuff factored in from the beginning. So again, when I say censors, I don't mean like they had a contentious relationship with the censors. I'm just more so implying that they made the smart calls that the censors were cool with from the get go. That's what I think most likely happened here. Where it's such a great kind of like a trump card where the bad guy hit by the train. Courage dives out of the car as Mad Dog's stuck in the car, facing down the wrong end of the train. Boom, hit, and we're just focusing on Kitty's reaction. Of course, we reveal he's like laughing, like driving like no car with the steering wheel and everything. Anyway, like the last thing that we see Mad Dog's like kind of like not an intimidating voice, no teeth. He's just all beaten, and it's like as you would be if you survived a wreck that bad. He'd just be beaten up, but he would be less imposing than he would be, obviously. But again, that's all. We can hit him with the train, but we can't pull an Oliver and Company with it. Okay, he's got to be alive. All right, we can't just have him be hit and not mention it, because then people are going to put together like, oh my god, they killed a dog. No matter how psychotic and abusive that dog was, they killed a dog on a kids' cartoon. What is this, John Wick? We can't do that.
And then, of course, they turn around and Kitty is just conveniently on the back of the train waving them down.
Yeah, right.
Well, again, we've been built again. That's kind of the cool parallel thing we had for this episode there, where while this was going on, Kitty was making her way out the door, and again, she knew where Mad Dog's apartment was and everything. So again, this is where she was running to. So I mean, I guess they were kind of building to it through the whole episode. Like, Kitty was basically without her mask, and she shed her mask, she shed everything again, so she can now face the world, and facing the world is facing her problems, and facing her problems is facing the whole Mad Dog Bunny thing, which brings her to Bunny at the end of the day. So maybe that's kind of a theme that they're going with too, like facing your demons, facing your fears. In Courage's case, facing your demons, and along with your fears and realities with Kitty. So it's all relative.
Here's where it kind of, I think the episode just kind of rushes just to fit all this in, where Kitty just very quickly says, "Yeah, I was wrong about hating all dogs. Some dogs are good." But it's kind of rushed, and she spent a lot of time really, really just beating Courage to a complete pulp. And I think that that could have been expanded upon a little bit more. Her, actually, apologizing to Courage, not just saying, I guess he's not all bad. I feel it's kind of rushed here.
Here's the thing. I think I don't think you're wrong necessarily, but what I really like about it is, again, this feels such like the ending of a noir movie, or like an older movie where the train's
Yeah.
going by, the lovers are on the trains. Is that dog saved my life? He saved my life, and then of course like they have the reunions. I was wrong about, she has that kind of that almost that Hey Lamar delivery with like making every word kind of that femme fatale delivery. Like, I was wrong about it all, Bunny. You you're a brave. I'm sorry, Bunny said like you're a brave dog. Thanks. She got on the train with the kitty on the train there. She runs
After
to the
Bunny, the brave dog, Courage just has that meager, like, uh-huh.
And of course, we had the thought bubble too. I forgot to talk about the thought bubble. We had the last thought bubble, and this was a cool one where we had the undernourished mask, which again, for using the symbol of Mad Dog's intolerance or just fear in general. Again, you could always look at it too as like just kind of intolerance and the reality that cannot be faced to of just, what it turns into. I mean, not from the get go. From if you want to look at it from all Mad Dog, from the point Mad Dog enters the fray, then yeah, it's one is like starred because of the happy ending and you encourage to save Muriel, conquer his fear and everything with the brave dog. Run to the train. Again, this run to the train is, I think, kind of what saves the abruptness of the ending for me, where it's like, I think they hit the emotional note just right and the music swells and everything, where that dog saved my life. I was wrong, Bunny. Not all dogs are bad, which again is a simplistic lesson, but a good lesson. Like not don't categorize everybody under the same banner, under the same kind of storm cloud umbrella. Don't categorize everybody under that thing. Now we can be best friends forever. And of course they have the mouse and thank you, dog, for everything. So again, it's like I don't think they really could have patched things up that much between Courage and Kitty. It's just kind of like you need to go out on a high note. And I think they went with the high note option. But you know what? Let's leave them wanting more versus let's just cheapen it with like ending after ending.
Yeah, I suppose you're right.
The Courage drives the truck back in the morning, and again,
I love how casual that is. He just rolls up.
just rolls on up.
Muriel just stops eating her apple when she sees it and then continues eating her apple and he hops out. It's just like, oh yeah, she's used to this, I guess.
Yep. Or again, she might just not be all there and just not pay much mind to it anyway. So that could be just like okay, just Courage driving. Us, there's a legitimate argument for that, but yeah. So, Courage, I looked for you all night, which is a lie. It's a big fat lie. You didn't look for him everywhere all night. We saw you. Liar Muriel.
Now we're the mask.
Yes.
You're calling out their hypocrisies.
Yeah, so Kitty. So Kitty is gone, and she's she left something behind, and Eustace is now wearing the mask. And of course, Eustace is trying to fix something.
Like the mask is both like this really, really deep symbol, and also, it can be funny too. It's like there's two shades to everything.
Yeah, and of course, we end on the gag of Eustace trying to fix something. It's now working out for him. He says, "Muriel, you got a bobby pin."
The idea that Eustace just somehow thinks that this. Especially after chastising Kitty multiple times of you can't eat any food with that thing. But then somehow he thinks it's going to be helpful for his handiwork.
It is perfect, though, considering Eustace famously uses a mask all the time.
Yeah, I think what they're trying to do is it's like a wielding mask, or a welding mask.
Yeah, like a welding mask.
Okay. All right.
Before we go here, I just want to say, I want to shout out some last comments from Ralph Gonzalez here that fit into the episode here. He says, I think her, in relation to the whole, the mask effect of watching them and everything so creepily, I think her watching them could be a way of studying them and their interactions on how a person usually lives a life that she can't do. That's not a bad theory. I'm not opposed to that.
I like that.
Let's see. The other thing Ralph has said here is, I would like to think, and this is kind of interesting, I would like to think there were mothers watching this and their kids, and basically mothers and their kids watching this and gained courage to get out. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to. I'm sorry. This is great. I'm sorry. I'm just reading. I'm just going to read it coldly. I got it now. So I'd like to think that there were mothers watching this and their kids, and they gain the courage to get out of their abusive relationships because this is a real problem some people face. And yeah, that would be a really great kind of inspiration this episode could maybe kind of it could inspire some people. That'd be nice if people had this indoctrinated them at a young age. So if they ever found themselves in a relationship like Kitty or Bunny was in, maybe they have the strength to get themselves out of it.
Yeah, it's pretty
nice.
It's pretty deep. Yeah.
Yeah. Gonzalez the Wise Man.
On my end, like I said, I don't necessarily think this is it's a fantastic episode. It's definitely in top 10 territory for best Courage episodes. It's not necessarily the best Halloween episode to talk about.
No.
Needed to talk about it. We really needed to break it down, and there's just a lot of layers to it. You know what I mean? There's just it does have that kind of Rorschach quality to it. It's but at the same time, I like how it never loses focus. Is at the end of the day, this is a comedy show more than anything else, and John Dilworth has been very proactive in saying that that his main goal in this show is to make people laugh. So there is a lot of dark subtext here, but by the same token, there's also some really great physical and even some tasteful bathroom humor. So I think at the end of the day, this episode's really successful all the way around. It's successful on kind of a thematic point of view. It's creepy. It makes you think, and it's got some good laughs in there. So it's really, really good.
Yeah, I think again, initially I was thinking Courage's motivations were a little off with those thought bubbles, but again, I think we kind of brought it back in the conversation a little bit more than I was on it before. I knew kind of the thing transforming Mad Dog entered the picture, but if we look at the mask as a different symbol, then I think it works a lot better. But again, the episode's very solid, very progressive. I still love the way it uses tone to convey this bigger subtext, and again, I think that's what's going to help it endure over these years. I think it's why it's one of the go-to episodes. I don't know. Again, the mask quality, I think the literal use of a mask, I think maybe going to cement. I think it justifies it enough as a Halloween episode. It's Curtis Cowardly Dog, which is always about something scary and fear. And we talked about something domestic horror related recently, not on Haunted Holiday Hijinks, but
domestic horror. It is a nice tie into our Just Giggle It stuff. That's
what I'm saying. It's a bit of a domestic horror, and again, they have the mask quality of your mask. Again, it's kind of took the more of a philosophical, or I guess more accurate psychological take on why we wear a mask and why we would wear a mask. So again, it's still kind of under the Halloween mask connection there. So I don't know. I think it justifies itself there. But seriously, solid episode. Not my favorite, but definitely one of the greats.
Sandy?
Yeah, I concur with what you guys are saying. You guys pretty much covered all the basics, and yeah, I concur.
Okay, well, that's the end of tonight's selection, and our spirits grow weary. But they'll be stronger than ever next time as we engage in even more haunted holiday hijinks.
Stupid dog! You made me look bad.